Hello again and welcome to another episode of I Want to Talk About This Album, and today I'm going to continue to talk about The Who. I've done a few episodes somewhat recently, and that trend is going to continue today. This is kind of in anticipation of Who album rankings. I did the Rat album rankings recently, and I think I'm going to do a Who album ranking episode at some point, maybe in the next couple of weeks or something. But I think this will be the last Who album episode that I do before I do the ranking. I haven't done all the Who albums. I may do some that I haven't done. I may do those later, but I think the Who album rankings will be the next time I talk about the Who, whenever that is, in a couple of weeks or a month, whatever. And today it's going to be odds and sods, or as they say, I think as British people say, odds and sods, something like that. I'm not sure if I got the accent down right. I've been practicing that all day. So this is, and the reason I'm doing this today is because I got this recently from my friend Miguel. Now, for me in real time, I just got this last week from Miguel. By the time this gets up, it might be 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't know, 2 weeks ago. But I got this from Miguel. He was visiting from California, and he brought me some records. This was one of them, so I want to say thank you to Miguel, and to get through at least a couple of these records while they're still kind of fresh in my mind. And look at this, and here it is. Here it is, odds and sods. All right, look at this. This was $3.99 US, and Miguel and I went to El Chopo. You may have seen that video. We saw it at El Chopo. I think it was 650 pesos, which is around close to, what's that, $33, something like that. And I saw it at El Chopo the previous time, and I asked the guy, I think it was 850 pesos, which is close to, what's that, $44, $43, something like that. So unbelievable that Miguel could get it for the low price of $3.99 US. That's just amazing. And it's in pretty good shape. I haven't taken it out to look at it yet, but outwardly, it looks in very good condition. It looks like the corner is either cut or scuffed or something, but quite good condition. So I'm very happy. Thank you, Miguel, for hauling this all the way from California to Mexico. So it's a little bit of a strange album, Odds and Sods. And I thought I had the CD of this. I know I have the CD of it. I just can't find it. It's possible that it didn't make the journey with me when I moved to Mexico 19 years ago. I was limited in what I could bring at the time. And it's possible that I didn't bring it, or it's possible that I somehow lost it. I know I've misplaced a few over the years. But anyway, so I'll be talking about the record today, Odds and Sods. And it's a little bit of a strange album. I think this episode won't be too long. This is like a compilation album. It's not a greatest hits album. This is a compilation of B-sides. The Who had a lot of B-sides and songs that they just did as singles. Substitute was a single. It's not on this record, but Substitute wasn't on an album. Magic Bus wasn't on an album. Back then, bands used to just put out singles. And I guess The Who especially, because I think they or Pete Townsend especially was quite prolific, had lots and lots of material. And this album, I guess, came as a result of, in that era of music, I guess mid to late 60s, maybe through the 70s, maybe even into the 80s, before CDs, bands, they recorded however many minutes of music. But before CDs, you were kind of limited to what you could put on the record. It was typically, most records were around 40 to 45 minutes. I know Iron Maiden stretched that out. Power Slave was around 50, somewhere in time was around 52, something like that. That was the absolute maximum. So I guess when a band like The Who had so much extra material and they couldn't fit it on a record, they had all these great songs left over, which then would come out later as, B-sides or singles, or in this case, compilation. Pearl Jam has a great double album called Lost Dogs that was all kind of similar to this. So it's cool. And but I think this is, it doesn't sound, and it was recorded, or the songs on this, on Odds and Sods, were recorded at various points. I guess from the start of the band until the album came out in 74, I think. 73 or 74. 74. So this must have come out. Quadrophenia, I think, also came out in 74 or 73. So this came out around that time. What I tried to do when I was listening to it, I listened to it twice today, as I always do, and I had to take notes. Well, before I get to that, I'm largely unfamiliar with this record. I do have it. Also, the Who. Oh my God, what a discography they have. I know the CD I had. I don't think it was a double CD, but it would have been like a double album because the original record here that I've got is 11 songs, and then the Who on all their reissues that came out on CD in the 90s and 2000s, they had lots and lots of extra material, so they put a lot of songs on there. I do know some of the bonus songs on this CD. I remember were what was on there? Young Man Blues, which is a great. I'm not going to talk about the bonus tracks, but that was a great. That's a really aggressive, very from the '60s, very aggressive song, Young Man Blues. There were two, I guess, alternate versions of Who songs that were on records: Marianne with the Shaky Hand from the Who Sell Out, and Love Ain't for Keeping from Who's Next. The version that was on the bonus CD of Odds and Sods was Pete Townsend on vocals instead of Roger Daltrey. Summertime Blues was on there. That was covered by everybody. Leaving Here, that's also been covered by many, many bands. I don't know. But I will just talk about the 11 songs on here today. I did need notes for it. What I was going to try to do when I listened to it when I was out on my walk, I was trying to imagine, some were very, very obvious, trying to kind of guess or imagine or predict what album session each of these B-sides or leftover songs or whatever came from. And when I got home and listened to it a second time, just shortly before I started this video, as I always do, I wrote down what I thought the era or the album or the year that each song was from. And then just as I was about to start recording this, because I hadn't really looked at this album, other than, when Miguel gave it to me, I went, oh, cool. All right, cool. Thank you, Miguel. And then I realized that the song, or the years of each songs, at least when they were recorded, is written on here. So I just looking at them now, I don't remember what I wrote, but I'll see how correct I was in my prediction from listening to them. There were a couple that I'm sure I got exactly. To me, very, very simple. So I'll try to do that. So it's 11 songs, and it sounds like a Who album. It doesn't sound like it was patched together from various years, although there are a couple of, especially the two very early ones, I think. Yeah, and definitely yes. Yeah, there were two that I was for sure correct on. But to me, this sounds like a Who album. But aside from one song, there's really nothing on this album that there were no radio staples except for one song. There were no, I guess there were a couple that and Water was on the bonus edition too. There were a couple on here that they have put in their set list over the years and maybe even in recent years. But I'm largely, I bought the CD, I guess, at the time just because I wanted to have all the Who CDs. Not all of them, it's impossible because, oh my God, they have a massive, massive discography. A lot of compilations, a lot of, whether they're greatest hits or things like this, EPs, things like that. So anyway, so I will, first of all, open this up. And something that I noticed about this when I picked it up, I noticed that there's, I don't know how I can explain this. If you can see, you can feel some texture there. So I thought, oh, cool, there's an inner sleeve in there. That the outer sleeve is kind of, it's split like this. I think it looks like it's ripped. And so I guess there's an inner sleeve. No, well, there is an inner sleeve, but that's not what it is. Oh, this has lyrics. Hold on, let me get, there must be something else. There's the record. But this is still, I don't know if I'm explaining it properly. There is, there is, all right, here it is. There's something in there. I don't know if, yeah, look at it. It's like this. It's like two sections, 3 pieces of cardboard. The front cover, the back cover, and something in the middle, which it seems I can't pull out. And it's a live picture of, I see some drums, and I see, I don't know if that's Pete or Roger, who it is. It's a shame you can't pull that out. I assume you can't pull it out. And it is cardboard, it's not paper. Yeah, it seems like it's lodged in there. Anyway, so there's the cover. And when the Who announced this, you know, they're doing this another farewell tour. I think later this summer in the fall. And when Pete did his press conference, Roger was separate. Pete had in front of him, I don't know if it was he had one of these helmets. I assume it was the actual helmet. On here too, up here, you can see that it's like this. Yeah, so Pete had the helmet in front of him at the press conference. Presumably it was, I can't remember what letter it was. He's O on here. And I feel like it was R he had there on the press conference, or at the press conference. I don't know. But there it is. So I can, well, let me take a look at this first. So here's the record. It looks to be in excellent condition. Very well done. The edge feels weird. Often, you know, the edges of records, they feel kind of, the very, very edge feels kind of raised a little bit. This one feels a little bit different. All right. And let me see the insert, the inner sleeve. So there it is again. And it does have the lyrics. Very kind of unusual, I think, that compilation albums have lyrics, but this one does have it. And it's got some liner notes one thing I do know about this record, as I said, I never really get into it, but something that I do know about it, that it was curated by John Entwistle, which maybe explain the first song, which I'll talk about momentarily. I don't know why he was in charge of it. I don't know if he wanted to be. I don't know if he was put in charge because maybe, I don't know if Pete was in rehab at that time. I have no idea. I'm just speculating. Maybe Roger just wasn't into that kind of thing back then. I don't know if Keith Moon was capable of doing anything other than playing the drums back then. But I do know that John Entwistle curated it. And, okay, these liner notes are by Pete Townsend. Maybe it explains it here. While Roger Daltrey was groping round the Tommy film set, maybe he means moping. It says groping. Rather masterfully, in parentheses, the part of the deaf, dumb, and blind kid himself. Oh, he's talking about Roger Daltrey. Where Roger Daltrey was groping around the Tommy film set, playing the part of the deaf, dumb, and blind kid himself, while Keith Moon was dressed in a dirty raincoat, drinking Guinness with a raw egg and flashing at passersby, while I, Pete Townsend, was ensconced in the studio, John Entwistle, with a little help from his friends, was rooting about in the mountain of unmarked tape boxes at Trek Records. He came up with this remarkable collection of unreleased oddities, impulsively labeled Odds and Sods by Roger. So Roger came up with the title. I'm going to tell you all why they were never released in the first place. That's interesting. I really like that. I'm not going to read them all. But he's got, and Pearl Jam did the same thing on Lost Dogs. And The Who was a big influence on Pearl Jam. And I'm sure Pearl Jam got the idea for Lost Dogs from Odds and Sods. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'll have to read this later. He explains each song, why it wasn't on, and I guess he talked maybe similar to what I'm going to do. All right, that's cool. I like that. So amazing. This is only $4 US. That's you won't find anything for $4 US at El Chopo or anywhere in Mexico, and if you do, it's held together by Scotch tape likely, and it probably somebody wrote all over it or something. All right. So I will go through track by track now. The first song, as I mentioned, maybe because it's John Entwistle's, creation kind of. The first song is Postcard. And I don't know why, but when I listened to this, I said, oh man, I totally know this song. And I don't know why, because it was never a radio hit, as far as I know. I don't remember Postcard ever being on the radio. I don't think they ever played it live, so it wasn't on any of their subsequent live albums. But I recognized it right away. And the reason I say that it's strange, maybe that this is the first song on the record, that it's John Entwistle, it's very peculiar. It's got lots of horns, and I don't know if it's French horn, because I know John Entwistle played French horn. And it's very melodic, da 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 da, very bright sounding. The lyric is what is it? It's lovely to see you here. It's I wish you were here. I can't remember, but I like Postcard. It's just a strange opening song. Maybe that was a little bit of John Entwistle patting himself on the back or saying, hey, I don't want to be buried on the end of side one or at the end of the record, so I'm going to put my song on number one. So that's Postcard. Oh, we're having a lovely time. Wish you were here. We're having a lovely time. Wish you were here. Da na na da da with the horns. I like it, but a bit of a strange song. Not a typical Who song. Next is strange title. It's called Now I'm a Farmer, and I wrote down the lyric here. It's alarming how charming it is to be out farming. And it's Roger. I think Roger sings the first vocal, and then Pete comes in later. It's pretty good. This one, I think. Oh, and I'll have to double check these. To me, this sounded like 69, 70. It sounded like Tommy era. Tommy came out in 69. So I would guess Now I'm a Farmer. To me, it sounded like it could have been on Tommy. Now I'm a Farmer. It is 1969. I don't know if that was recorded in the Tommy sessions. But, and Postcard. Oh, Postcard, I didn't predict that. Oh, it's not, it says recorded in 1969, finished in 1974. I probably would have guessed that it was 74 just because it sounds more quadrophenia. It sounds more, it's got the horns. It just sounds more, it sounds bigger. Next is Put the Money Down. I guessed that this was like 73, 74. I guess like Quadrophenia era. This is a real, I like this song. It's a real rock song. There's guitar driving it throughout. And it is from 1972. So I was maybe off by a year or two. All right. Next is Little Billy. This one to me was very, very clearly Tommy-ish. So I'll say 69, 70, probably 69. Lyrically and musically and just sonically, I guess. I thought Little Billy sounded very Tommy-ish. You know, like Cousin Kevin, Little Billy, maybe something like that. 1968, a little bit earlier than I would have guessed. But yeah, I could identify as kind of an early era Who song. Next is Too Much of Anything. I like this one too. This to me had a Love Ain't For Keeping vibe to it. Love Ain't For Keeping is from Who's Next, which is 1971. So I guess this was around 1971. Too Much of Anything. 1972. All right. Next was Glow Girl. Now this to me has got to be from Tommy. You know, there's a song on Tommy. It's a Boy. I think it's the second song after Overture. It's a boy, Mrs. Walker. It's a boy. And this is It's a Girl. It's a girl, Mrs. Walker. It's a girl. At the end, just in the last 30 seconds or something. I like that song too, Glow Girl. So I'm going to guess that's 69 from Tommy era, Glow Girl. 68. Maybe they recorded in 68 and then Tommy came out in 69. It's kind of easy to predict these. You know, The Who, at that time, they'd only been around. I guess their first album, My Generation, came out in 65 or 66. And this album came out in 73 or 74. So, you know, it's kind of easy to guess the years. Next is Pure and Easy. I did know this one, at least by title. When I heard it, I said, oh yeah, I know that song. But I couldn't exactly get it. To me, this sounded also like Who's Next era. Great guitar solo in this, and a cool, a great riff outro at the end, maybe in the last minute or a minute and a half. There's a cool electric guitar riff with an acoustic guitar being played kind of underneath it, kind of mimicking the electric riff. And Pete is singing at the end, and he's singing, there once was a note, listen. He just repeats that again and again. I like that song a lot, Pure and Easy. So I'm going to say that's 69 or 70. Who's Next came out in 70, so I'll say 69 or 70, Pure and Easy. 71, all right, so I was a little bit off there. Next is possibly my favorite song on the record. It's called Faith in Something Bigger. This to me sounded like a Quick One era, around there. Had a little bit of a vibes of So Sad About Us, which is one of my very, very top favorite Who songs. I love this song. So I'm going to guess this one was 60. A Quick One came out in 68, I think. So I'll guess 68. It was, yeah, January 68. All right. Next is I'm the Face. This is clearly very old. This sounds like it could have been on My Generation, the first record. It's got a real old kind of rock and roll. That first Who album, My Generation, I'll talk about this maybe more when I do the ranking, is pretty different compared to how they would be a few albums later. Very kind of old rock and roll, almost R&B Motown, a little bit of a feel to it. And this song, I'm the Face, is like this. So I'm going to guess this is 65 or 66. This one that's got some piano and some harmonica in it. So I'll guess I'm the Face is 65 or 66. 64, yeah, even earlier. So I guess this was recorded around the same time as My Generation, the first album. Next is two more. Naked Eye. This to me clearly sounded like Who's Next era, so around, I guess, 69, or maybe it was recorded in 69. Who's Next came out in 70. And I don't know why I knew this. I know the song Naked Eye. It's on in the naked eye. I knew this one. I don't know if maybe it was on Live at Leeds. I don't think it was on the original Live at Leeds, but there was also an expanded version of Live at Leeds. It might have been on that. It might have been on, as I mentioned, who have a massive discography. They had so many compilations and live albums and greatest hits and B-sides and things like that. Naked Eye, I've known it over the years. I don't know if it was a bonus track on one of their old records that I had, the CDs that came out in the late 90s or something. Roger and Pete share vocals on this. Naked Eye, I'm going to guess 69 or 70. 69, yeah, so maybe recorded. Now, I know Pete also had the Lifehouse project, which there were a bunch of songs that were recorded for that then were going to be on Who's Next, or they were going to be on his solo project called Lifehouse. He didn't do it, and I think some of them ended up on Who's Next. So I think Naked Eye was probably meant for Lifehouse or Who's Next. I'm not sure. It's hard to remember that whole era of the Who. It's quite complex. And next is Long Live Rock. This is the one that I mentioned earlier. The really only song that I'm familiar with, or that I was really familiar with. Long Live Rock was played on the radio all the time. I remember it also. The Kids Are Alright, the movie. I love that movie. It was played in there. I think it was over the closing credits or the end credits, maybe the beginning. I think the end credits. Maybe not even. I know it was somewhere in the movie. Long Live Rock. And this is a real kind of a boogie song. We were the first band to vomit at the bar. I don't know the lyrics, but I know the melody. It's very, kind of a later era. I'm going to guess this one was recorded. It's possible that maybe this was I'm going to guess 74. It sounds more like the Rock Who rather than the earlier, as I mentioned, kind of when they were more like a rock and roll band. I'll guess 74. 72, I was off by a couple years there. So 72, I guess that was recorded around the time of Quadrophenia. I don't know if it was during the Quadrophenia sessions. And I see the final record of this Odds and Sods was finished on July 4th, 1974. So I guess it probably came out in late 74. So after Quadrophenia. All right, so that's it. And I think these stickers, because when I did Kiss Killers the other day, it had this sticker. They come off very easily. When I saw they put the sticker right on the sleeve, I thought, oh, that's terrible. But then when I peeled it off, it came off very easily. And this one, isn't it exciting to see such action in a video? Yeah, it comes off quite easily. Or does it? I don't want it to come off in pieces. I don't like stickers. I'll take it off later. All right, so that's it. So this is, thank you for watching. And I'm not sure what else to say. I'm all flummoxed now. But this was the Who Odds and Sods.